Welcome back to Chad's Creative Hub. And in part two of our Storm Giant series, we're going to be covering base coats, washes, and blocking in those layers. So if you've ever wondered how to get a good, clean, strong start on painting your minis, stick around. Okay, quick recap. So in video one, we covered prepping, priming, and color scheme. So if you missed that video, I will post it in one of these corners and you can go watch it if you like. But for now, let's dive into the next step. Okay, folks, base coat. Let's talk about base coat. So I see base coat, it's a foundation. So right here, you can see I'm painting the base of this miniature a dark blue. Well, the dark blue is going to act as the shadowy areas of the cracks and stuff. So what I'm doing here is I'm making him look like he's walking on ice. So I'm starting with this dark blue, and later on I'll be doing my midtones and my highlights on top of this. So your foundation, or your base coat, I should say. I call it foundation, but your base coat, you kind of want a darker color for like your shadowy areas. When I'm putting on my base coat, I like to thin down my paint a little bit. I kind of test it out. The reason why is the detail. If you run your paint too thick, you're going to cover up details. So you kind of learn how to get it to where your paint flows just right. You can see right here a little bit of shadowy areas. I ended up painting this twice, which was no big deal because it didn't take me very long. This stage is you want to get the paint on. So I'm trying to paint the biggest areas first. That way I can get the paint on. And like if you hit, like right here, if I hit the boot or something, it's not going to bother me because I'm going to do a base coat also on the boot. So your touch up time and, being specific will come later. But as of right now, I just want to get the paint on. So you can see me, I'm not doing any certain brush strokes or nothing like that. I'm just filling it in, getting the paint good coverage. I'm also using a bigger brush. I'm using a medium at this point. I like to use a medium or bigger just to get more paint on. Which is a good method to do. This is kind of like the messy stage, so don't be afraid to just get the paint on. So right here, I'm going to start the brown. I had a little bit of trouble with the brown. For some reason, it kept coming out pretty glossy. So what I did, I just shook it up the best I could, kind of got it out, and then it got to where I could actually shake it up a little better. But I ended up doing I believe it was like 3 coats on all the brown. So another thing I did with since we talked about color scheme in my last video, excuse me. So when I pull out a color like this brown on my color scheme, I had already set up. So I knew when I pull out this color, I'm going to paint all the pieces of him that color, why I have that color out. So I don't have to jump back and forth. It saves me time. As you can see right here, I'm just getting the paint on. Right here, I'm working on his leather around his waist. I mean, you want to be careful, you know, so where you're not having to touch up too much, but you get pretty good at it. You know, we're human. We're gonna make mistakes. It's all good. I believe I did his boots. I did his waist where he's at now, and then I believe I did his straps also. Thinning your paints, that's a big part of doing your base coat. You want those details, so when you come in to do your detail work later, you can kind of understand what you got there. Like if it's a belt, or let's say a knife on his side or something, or a little piece of metal strapping or something, you'll be able to see it just fine. So right here, I'm painting his straps over his arms, his shoulders. See, I'm just getting that paint on. So that's pretty much base coat. You just want to get your miniature covered with the base color on all the parts. And then our next step is going to be washes. We're going to go into washes next. I will be putting some photos of the storm giant before at the end of this part, and we'll move on to washes. Washes. Let's talk about washes. So I've got the storm giant all coated up, base coat, ready for washes if I choose to do a wash. So wash, these are washes. This is shadow, let me see. Shadow wash, you got shadow wash, you have this one's a flesh wash. Get it right there. Maybe. Okay, I'm fighting the camera. Anyways, so there's a shadow wash, a flesh wash, and then there is a brown wash. So basically, from my experience of using the washes, let's say the shadowy areas, you once you got your base coat, or you can use it prior to doing your base coat. It's completely up to you. I've seen people use them even after they do their layering. You know, even after they do their highlights, I've seen them put a wash on there, and it dulls the base coat, or even your highlights. It kind of dulls it down a little bit, so you can keep kind of building on it. But it fills in those. It's really like runny, and it fills in those cracks for like the shadowy areas. So you're not having to paint each little crack. That's kind of the basics of wash, you know, in my mind. So right now, I'm getting ready to use some washes on the storm giant, and I'm not quite sure. I know I want to do some on the skin area. I'm going to test it on one of the parts of a skin somewhere and see how that is. And maybe, and I know on the leathers, I'm going to use some wash. And I don't know about the beard yet. I'm not sure about his beard. And the boots, I'll do some on the boots. I'll just have to kind of wing it. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at this point. So right now I'm going to get get my paint set up. Do some washes here. It's a little tight. So what I'm thinking, I'm gonna try some out on his leg. Let's see if I can hold him up here. So on his leg back here, I'm gonna give it a shot, and it'll help bring out his muscles, the details of the muscles. I'm gonna see how well that does. So what I'm gonna use for that, there's a flesh wash. Let's see if I can get the camera to zoom in on that. Okay, flesh wash. I'm gonna try that out on his flesh. So like I mentioned, it'll dull it down, your color, whatever you put it over. So I'm going to give it a shot here. Let me grab a paper towel. I keep this big roll of paper towels because I'm constantly needing something. Constantly needing to clean something. All right. With that, let's give it a shot. Camera's good. Okay, so now the washes. I'm going to begin washing on the back of his leg. So a big thing of washing, you just want to make sure the consistency is correct. Sometimes it's kind of like goopy. This one right here was a little goopy, so you can see me adding more and more water. So with your washes, you could even pinpoint where you put it. So if you were to get like a liner, you can just put it, like dab it. If it's the consistency is pretty runny, you can just dab it in that corner, and it'll pretty much just lay out in that corner. Another good thing about washes is you're able to make your own washes. You can take pretty much any color you like and just add water to it and create your own wash of any color. So like on my base coat on the blue down there, I could make my own wash on that blue and just fill the lines in on that, the details with that. So you can see how it's kind of shiny, but I've noticed once it dries, it kind of fades out, but it did definitely make the tone underneath, the skin tone, darker, which is good in the case of what I'm doing. I'm going to be adding over this, so yeah, as you see here, see that it's shiny. I was kind of worried about that when I was first putting that on. All in all, though, it came out pretty good. Right in here, right there where the arm crease right there is, it filled that in pretty good. So just try to have fun with the washes, experiment with them. That's kind of what I do, and pretty much go from there. If you like it, you like it. Maybe next time don't try that color on, a certain color of a wash, or try a different color of a wash. So that's pretty much washes. And next step, we'll be doing some layering. Okay, layering. So like I mentioned before, so layering, you want to take your base coat and then you want to add a mid-tone color on top of that, and then not completely just where you want it. You just want to accent the two colors. And then on top of that, you can do highlights, or you could even do another lighter color in between your mid-tone and your highlights. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you an example. So I'm taking the Owlbear brown, okay, which I believe that, yes, that is his base coat. So what I'm going to do, I am going to add a little bit right here. And I am going to make a mid-tone color a little brighter. I'm going to make a little brighter color than what is on there. So right now, it's this color right now. So I'm going to make a mid-tone for these straps to give it a little different feel. So I'm going to add a little bit of white. Don't need much. Just a little bit. Let's see. So I'm going to add a little bit. So I like to leave a little bit of the base color over to the side. That way I can see the difference when I'm mixing it. So I don't know if you can see this, but right here, I'm just adding a little bit of white to the side here. Giving it a different shade. So I'm going to start painting one of these straps, and then I'll be able to show you. See, that way I don't have to go find and buy a lighter color. I mean, if you have it more, you know, that's awesome. I forgot where I put my paint. Kind of hard to see with this thing on sometimes. Oh, there we go. Just add a little bit of white to it. So depending on where you put your midtones, you know, that's completely up to you. Or if you just want to run your base coat, you know, it's your vision, how you see the character. So right here would be my midtone. So you have his darker color, his base color, and then I added a little bit of white to the same base color, and I lightened it up a little bit. So like I said, you could even go further with it and do another lighter coat and just add little strips on there, or just do the outside of it to make it pop. And then on top of that, you could do your highlights, you know, just barely run it, or you could even dry brush it for your highlights. So that's basically the steps of doing your layering. When I speak of layering, if someone chooses to layer paint on their character. So yeah, that's my way of doing layering. Okay, quick recap of part 2. So we went over base coat, we went over washes, and we went over layering. So in part 3, I will actually be showing the Storm Giant at the stage he's at now with all his layering on the beginning of part 3. And in part 3, we will be going over detail work, I'll be going over highlights, and I'll be going over some dry brushing. So if you like what you see, stick around. Please leave a like, leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And most of all, have fun, you know? That's why we do this stuff, you know? We're just having fun. Have fun with your miniatures, explore different things, and most of all, thanks for joining me at Chad's Creative Hub.